Hey guys, it's me Elizabeth. Welcome back to another video. Basically, I'm gonna be attempting a monthly wrap-up for the month of August. Read 6 books in the month of August. I'm still not quite sure how I did that. I think I must have been in like a major reading slump before because I could barely read one book for some of those months. So August I stepped up my game and I finally read quite a few books and I'm excited to talk about it. Let's just get into the books I read. First, I read Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets because I'm doing a Harry Potter reread. I'm just kind of slowly reading through these and annotating them. As you can see, I ran out of red tabbies at one point, and so I was just tabbing the pages at the top with orange so that I could go back and fix it because I couldn't find my red tabbies. I'm not gonna say too much about that book because you already know my feelings. It's part of my favorite book of all time, so need I say more? And then I finished The Bone Ships by R.J. Barker. I actually read half of this the month in June, and then I finished it in August. I actually meant I bought the whole trilogy and I meant to read this along with Johan from Library of a Viking because he was reading, like, he was going to read this one in June, the next one in August, the next one in September, and I finished this in August and haven't touched the other 2 books yet, so that kind of failed. I read half of this in June. I think I read it physically. Yeah, I read it physically, and then for the second half I listened to the audiobook because I figured that would help me get through it much quicker, and it did, and I really enjoyed it. I would say this is like a 4-star book. It was really fun. I would definitely read the other books. I'm really glad I liked it because I was kind of unsure for a little bit there because it was kind of a slow read. I will warn you, if you're not used to fantasy or if you don't like slow-paced books, I personally thought this was kind of a slow-paced book. It took me a while, like, because it just kind of felt like not a lot was happening. I was just like, it kind of starts off right away with like a little bit of action, but then after that it's just kind of like, kind of slow. That's just my personal thought on it. But after like finishing it, I was like, yeah, this is definitely a good book. I would totally read the other books, and it's totally a 4-star book. I really enjoyed it. It was really fun. And then I read The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. I actually started this sometime. Was it this year or something? I don't know. Everyone's talking about Joe Abercrombie all the time, and I'm just like, I need to read this guy, right? And so I started reading this a while back, and I read a couple chapters or a chapter or something. I don't remember. I didn't get very far because I was not motivated, so I don't remember. Many reasons, I suppose. And then I decided in August that, well, I did my TBR video, and this is one of the books that was chosen. And I decided to listen to it on audio, and let me tell you, this book, you should just read Joe Abercrombie. I never knew I needed this in my life until I read it, and now this was a 4.75 book. Like, it wasn't quite a 5-star book. Not quite there, I don't think. It's so close, though. It is so close. This was amazing. I loved it. I highly recommend that if you have a hard time reading this, try the audiobook because the audiobook was amazing. I feel like maybe when I was reading it physically, I had a hard time getting into it. I decided to listen to this on audiobook and absolutely loved it. Reading the second one this month, so excited. I just want to read everything by Joe Abercrombie now. Reading, like, something that makes this book really good, besides the book itself, the story and the characters, is the fact that as soon as I finished this, I wanted to read every other book that was in the series in this world. Like, it's amazing. And it is a grimdark, so if you're not into grimdark, then maybe don't read grimdark. But if you're into fantasy, grimdark fantasy, highly recommend. Then I read Eden Conquered. This is the second book, the sequel to Dividing Eden. There's actually a novella in here that I haven't read. I was actually supposed to read it last month and then I didn't. Well, technically I didn't have to read it because this was the book that got chosen. Technically, if you're gonna do it like as a separate thing, but it was part of the book and I meant to read it, and then I didn't get it finished before my vacation, so then I didn't read it at all. So I do still plan to read the novella at some point, which is why it's still in my TBR card. And then I read Dragon Watch. I listened to the audiobook. This is by Brandon Mule. This is a companion series, a sequel series to Fablehaven. What's the word for that? It comes after Fablehaven, but it's the same characters. So it's like a second series for the same characters. My personal opinion, I know some people who are obsessed with Brandon Mule, obsessed with Fablehaven, Dragon Watch, like my cousin specifically. And here's my opinion. Fablehaven is a really good middle grade series, but I'm personally not obsessed with it. It's personally not my favorite thing in the world. It's like, I would say as a middle grade series, it's like a 4-star book, but as a series, it's a 4-star series. But as just a general book, out of all the different books that I love, I would generally just give it like a 3.5 stars. Like, it's really good for middle grade, but I'm not obsessed or in love with it like some people are. It's just kind of okay. And I kind of feel the same way about Dragon Watch. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it. I like listening to the audiobooks. They're fun. But I'm not obsessed. It's not my favorite thing. And I just don't think it quite gets that 4-star. It's not like, oh my gosh, I loved it, this was great. It's just kind of like, that was fun. I'm probably going to read all of these because my cousin's obsessed, so I feel like I need to read all of them. And I am enjoying them. I'm enjoying them enough to read the rest of the books, but not enough to really give it a 4 stars. So I think, here it is. I think I'm going to give it a 3.75, and I'm going to give the Fablehaven series as a general whole a 3.75. But I also want to say that I really, really actually want to read Beyonders. I read the first book in Beyonders and I actually loved it. I thought it was awesome. Personally, I thought it was so much better than Fablehaven. I'm just being honest here. And I really want to continue on with that series because I loved that first book. It was amazing. Something I think about Fablehaven that I'm not loving as much is that it is middle grade. It's very much, you can, like, I do love to read middle grade, so I don't know how to say this, but like, I feel like it's meant, you can tell that it's really meant for younger audiences, and maybe it's just my taste right now because I'm super into like adult fantasy right now, and classics, and like history, like stuff that's more adult focused than children focused. But I feel like I don't know, it just feels like it's obviously a middle grade, so it's written for a younger audience, but I just can feel that when I'm reading it, and so I just feel like I don't connect. I guess I don't connect with any of the characters. I guess that's what you could say, because I'm not a middle grade child. I am very much an adult, so I feel like I just don't really, like, I really enjoy the story. It's really fun. I love the fantasy aspect, and in Dragon Watch, I like the dragons, like the whole story and everything is great. I just don't connect with the characters and the story as closely because I'm not middle grade. But I feel like if I was reading this when I was younger, I probably would have loved it more than I do now. Like, I'm not saying I don't like it. I still like it. It's really fun. I enjoyed it. I'm gonna continue on. And then I read the best book of the month. I'm trying to remember what else I read this year that would be better than this, but I think there is something. But I read Red of Ingleside, the last and final book in the Anne of Green Gables series, and oh my gosh. You probably already know. It's a 5 stars. I'm obsessed with Anne of Green Gables. I love all of these books so much, but this one, oh my gosh. This one had some sad stuff in it. Mainly towards the end, it was really only the one thing, but it was sad, okay? It was sad. And it was sad. It was also kind of sad because I was sad that I was finished with the series and I don't have another Anna Green Gables book to read that I haven't read yet. Like, that's kind of sad. And oh my god, the characters, obviously we have reoccurring characters, but we kind of follow a new character, Rilla. First off, let me just mention that I'm obsessed with her name. Her name is Marilla, but they call her Rilla. I'm obsessed with that. Actually, her first name is something else and her middle name is Marilla, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember her first name right now. Rilla, my Rilla. But I love this story. I loved, honestly, the character development of Rilla. Like, what? I can't even. I just loved following Rilla's character. Rilla Blythe was awesome to follow. Like, basically, it starts out with Rilla. Like, basically, in the other books, you get, like, to know some of Anne's children pretty well, but you don't really get to know Rilla that much. She's, like, mentioned, and there's, like, a couple of scenes where stuff happens with Rilla in it, but you don't really get to know Rilla very much throughout the rest of the books. But in this one, she's the main character, and it was so much fun following her. Like, how at the beginning she was like this pretty girl that like loved going, like wanted to go to parties and be this, like whatever, but then, you know, World War I happens and then stuff changes and her character changes, and it's just, I don't know, I loved it. It was so much fun. And I just loved, you know, even though they weren't as prominent, I loved seeing all of the other characters, specifically Anne and Gilbert. I love Ella Montgomery. I'm just obsessed. And I really want to read The Blythe Are Quoted because I just got that recently and I'm dying to read it, and I can't because I have 6 other books. Hey guys, editing me. I forgot to talk about one of the books that I read in the month of August. Basically, I read a book on vacation. I read A Pocketful of Rye by Agatha Christie. I forgot to talk about it in this monthly wrap-up because, I don't know, for some reason I didn't catalog it in my story graph, and that's where I was getting all my monthly reads from. So that's why I completely forgot to talk about it. But then I was editing this and I was like, I definitely read a book on my vacation. So I don't have the book to show you because I can't find it right now. I read A Pocketful of Rye by Agatha Christie. I gave it a 4.5 stars. I loved it so much. It was so much fun reading this mystery book, and I officially am dying to read more Agatha Christie. I want to read more mystery books. I think I'm going to love the mystery genre. It was just so much fun. Like, basically, the whole time I was following this detective dude in the story, and I was just like, basically, whatever he was thinking about the case is kind of similar to what I was thinking. So when he suspected it was somebody, I was suspecting the same person, but it totally went in the, like, it was just so unexpected because he thought it was like this one person, and, you know, whatever the thing that he had for it made complete sense. So I was like, yeah, it's this person. And then the next person he thought it was, the exact same thing happened. It was like, this makes complete sense. Yeah, it's this person. And then the next person he suspected until it was someone he didn't suspect at all. And I was just like, wait, what? So I just loved it. I thought that was great. Miss Marple, it wasn't Miss Marple mystery, so she was in it for a bit. But I loved it. It was great. It was so much fun. And I want to read more Agatha Christie. I want to read more mysteries. But yeah, I did forget to talk about this book, so I want to talk about it real quick because I read that book too. So I guess technically that makes 7 books rather than 6, which is actually good. Those are the books that I read in the month of August. Let me just give you one more look at the stack. Those are the books I read. Let me know down in the comments below if you have read any of these, what your thoughts are on any of them, or if you're interested in any of them. I highly recommend all of them. Maybe, I would say maybe for Dragon Watch, if you're not into middle grade, or you're not a middle grade child, that you might not enjoy it as much, but it's still fun. Highly recommend all of these, specifically this one and this one, obviously. So yeah, if you enjoyed this, feel free to like, subscribe, comment down below, all of that jazz. And if you're into history, historical, fashion, or sewing, you can check out my other channel linked below. I will see you in the next one. Bye.